that the sugar of some diet, the kind of says in that down the coatilia and the chicken. Now, either to join another, and had a milky way another, that Gangada, Dungadi, in the Mongolia, but do some dance. Now, Korea Dungadi, Targo to Sempigita, Tarduke Samba, Tarni, and then Tarva Togo to Sempe Samba Chiki. Now, Koatilla Tarche, Tarba Togo to Sempicuno, Dene Samaki. Dene Tarba Togo some Tone, that did the Tarba Togo to Dala, and Yamengar Chores in it. Jimbei, Sujim Yamnesia, Jimbei Yamnesia, Subi Yamnesia, Junri Yamnesia, and Delia, and Jig, Shine to Shine Yamne, Shine to Ya, and Digalea, the Dame about to be sheriff Sitida, Mazunga, said the Jig, Pumbola, Maduba, Pumbong Apokara, Maduba, rang when the Juba the Sao, Yomare, Sampe, Samloti, Dusche, Tanjo Comedi, Yamnesia, or Hess, I don't
Good afternoon. This morning, you are guided in the reflection on how first, by reflecting on how all 6 realms of cyclic existence, so wherever one is born, whether in the intense suffering of the lower realms, as a hell being, a spirit, or an animal, or in the higher realms as a human or God, one continues to suffer. Suffering, in fact, is ceaseless, unrelenting, leading to engaging in this meditation, leading to a disenchantment, and a disenchantment with samsara, recognizing there's nothing to aspire for within samsara. It never leads to lasting happiness. It just cannot. And thereby leading to a revulsion for the causes of samsara, the afflictions. Those two then leading to a determination, or a deep yearning rather, for freedom, to be freed from the sufferings of samsara. Thereafter, we spoke further about how to attain freedom. That is, through cultivating the 6 meditations. So the ethical restraint, that is the very root of the teachings. And this, it needs to be cultivated because the other qualities grow independence on ethical restraint, such as generosity, patience, joyous perseverance. Then we also spoke about the 2 additional trainings, the essential practice of concentration, and in particular this morning we looked at wisdom, the wisdom realizing selflessness or emptiness. And we spoke about, in terms of realizing selflessness, or the emptiness of the self, that one first comes to recognize how the self appears, and then investigates and comes to realize it does not exist in the way that it appears. It's empty of existing in the way that it appears.
당저 가사 괜히가 쉬어야 될 군노한테 가르치고서 군노한테 당가송을 둘에 동안에 타르체네 원료 고본 토구도 선비게다 원료 고본 톱되게 되냐지 군노한테 시게 당 원료 고본 토에 되나라 냠는 체에 가르스네 수름소야 진바자 쇠변년 준전념내지야 나디가라는 몰람제고 직가야 되지래지 어두스 디냠는 제디다 두시네 가서 가상 괜히 뒤셔야 되래 난 디링 가상다 디링 쉬어야 돼 군노들다 디레 군노데 개체를 당제 나 고유 동안 하다 냐와 이다 둔로자 하다 미 간에 깨워나 강에 들레데 고유 동안 타달래 자고도 들레 자이비게 저네 타르바 토부도 선배 군노데다 군노데 개체와 차고래 제가다 디니게 군을 라제 난 냠는 제에 가르라나 다 녀를 슈바네 진보 출연수바 준주 시시에 다 디가네 안디리 먼저 삼텐다 근데 다음에 것도 비셔라 니디 이세 냠지 디주디 냠는 제야래다
Bring the various verses we've looked at thus far. The first grouping of verses, we there looked at the sufferings in the lower realms that all of us are in potential of falling into in our very next rebirth. And that next rebirth could be at any time. And once in the lower realms, not only is the suffering intense and in fact unimaginable for us, but one has to endure such suffering for an immense period of time because of how difficult it is to gain freedom from the lower realms. Then we that reflection leads to the determination, I must gain freedom from potentially falling into the lower realms in my next rebirth by ensuring that I achieve another excellent rebirth as a human or God. So that was the first motivation, the initial motivation that one cultivates. Then how to do so, because merely having a motivation is insufficient. One needs to cultivate the required causes to fulfill that motivation, to achieve that result. And these causes were fivefold. There were ethics, generosity, patience, joyous perseverance, and prayer. Then the meditator progresses from there, and their reflection now goes on to the situation in the higher realms, and comes to recognize that suffering here too is pervasive. There is nowhere in the higher realms where one is freed from suffering. There's no pleasure worth striving for and attaining, that because none of them will last. And thereby we develop a far broader motivation of wanting to gain liberation from samsara in its entirety, not just merely ensuring we do not fall into the lower realms in our next rebirth, but ensuring we do not take rebirth again in cyclic existence. So this is a far broader motivation. This is a step up from the initial motivation. This is the intermediate motivation. And how then does one go about training one's mind so as to cultivate the causes to fulfill that motivation? Well, of those previous causes, one accomplishes them too, of ethics, generosity, patience, and joyous perseverance. But now one has to add on to additional causes, a powerful focused mind of concentration, together with the wisdom realizing emptiness. So where that brings us to is we've concluded looking at the preliminary practices that one has to engage in order to enter into the trainings which are unique to a practitioner of supreme capacity. The seventh verse, and I've just added one word in the first line. Just as I myself have fallen into the ocean of samsara, so too have all migrators who have been my own mother. Having seen this, please inspire me to master supreme bodhicitta, willingly accepting responsibility for liberating migrating beings.
대신 안주 당하죠 냐와이다 둔조를 개변의 동아여바다 안디나시 하당 밀게변의 강아디네 요래세데 가사다 아주 삼다다 셰르와 어두스 삼다다디다 라니 스소로와 지진도서 소소라라야 되니 강아 여바 나신다 셴 심전 탐지 심자 가능신나다 심자 탐지에다 코와바 고비 심자 탐지에다 되니기 코와를 홍두게 심자 탐지 마라 직비셔샤스 라니 수술로와 지진도 마교조 권년 되라 제자다 심전 참마 코올에 기디게 심전 탕마다 둥아 용고야 베네 가상한 쪽에 때 둥아들라 몸미시베 둥아 안데 이디미루에 둥아서 저와 어디 나신다 지부지게하르샤스 라니다 라니 마 코올에 클웅제 콜게 둥아 바톰바 용고바니 디나신다 심전 코올에 기게 심전 차상다 지부지게하르샤스 마교조 권년 되라 와서
Looking at the first two lines, of which the first line first, just as I myself have fallen into the ocean of samsara. So this line, once one has trained well in the preceding practices, in other words, trained well in the preliminaries, this line makes complete sense. This line is a summation of all that we've been training before. Having recognized the sufferings of the lower realms and given rise to determination not to be born there, and given looked at the sufferings of the higher realms and given rise to the determination to gain freedom completely from cyclic existence, and knowing that this is possible because one is training in those various causes that will lead to liberation, one then has completed those preliminaries, and we now come to the second line. We turn our focus from our own predicament. We lift our gaze up and recognize that all mother sentient beings are in that same predicament. The second line, so too have all migrators who have been my own mother. The meditation, as has been described, we first looking at our own situation, giving rise to a determination to transform ourselves. Now we recognize others too are suffering in the same way, and like ourselves, want to be freed of suffering. We are not different at this fundamental level.
dunga mi tuba chikpare, dewa tuba chikpare, chasa nga dunga tuyo omare, dewa tuyo ore. Di nashin semchen tsangma dewa kuku ore, dunga kuku omare chikpi chikyare es. Chasa nga dewa kuku bada dunga mi tuba nashin semchen tsangma dewa tuba dunga mi tuba chikpare. Chasa nga dan semchen chasang de jen koro ba semchen dikili ya keba kanya mi dos. Chasa nga dunga nyongwa nashin konzo dunga nyonggu ore. nga dunga midio ba na jin ko dunga dugu omar ngara dewa dewa ne konzo ti chasan dewa dewa ko chisa dewa dewa jiba dunga midio ba jiba ane sosi ina da dunga dugu omar de dunga nyongo ore dunga dewa dugu ore dewa di ane pongo ra ka nga chigo chisa ti jiba jigyare sha san du shine samta de she de da wa.
The second line then, it points to a foundational truth of the Mahayana, that we are all the same, that all the differences that we perceive, these are superficial. At a fundamental level, there is no difference between any of us, in that we all want to experience only happiness. And this desire for happiness pushes us in this direction and that direction. Yet, we don't achieve happiness. We keep creating causes that lead to our perpetuating of our own individual cyclic existence. So despite not wanting to suffer, no being wants to experience even the slightest problem, suffering, or difficulty. We all, in our ignorance, keep creating those causes. So we recognize that we are all the same. At a fundamental level, there is no difference between any of us.
ane 통니 시대 제자 셈전 탐지 동의 나와다 셈전 대화 되어봐다 동의 미디어바디 도도시네 직바라나 직바인바디 도 삼다데 되네 세바하고 그래서 다 통니 되나고 그래서.
Then the start of the third line, having seen this, so having seen that we are all the same, there is no difference between us. We want to be happy, but we suffer. And why? For the same reasons. So having recognized this.
that 되네 통연도 다 되네 삼나 갈당 그래서네. 제자다 심지어 탐지 랑나신 대화 되바네 심지어 대화 되바 이제 직바인다 심지어 탐지 대화의 템퍼쇼 선비게 삼로 당고 심지어 대화의 템퍼쇼 선비 삼로디 누스 공고 그래서디 야네 야도 삼당고 그래서. Then
we come to how what to meditate on here. So one generates the wish, may all sentient beings be happy, may they abide in lasting happiness. dunga na 되셔 제자 디네자 심지어 탐지 dunga단 차워 쇼 선비기다 내 인식이 공부해서 지금 당보 심지어 탐지 대화의 템버 쇼 선비 삼다 이제야 심지어 탐지 dunga단 차워 쇼 선비 삼다 거래지. Once developing the wish, may all beings be happy, may they abide in happiness. So this is the development of the mind of love, and it's directed at all beings equally. This is then followed by the meditation. May all beings be free of suffering. May they never suffer again. May they gain their freedom from suffering. This then is the meditation on compassion.
Ondadi Jambada Ninja Compas or Onduchin, this something in the Yana, Commudo, and the Garcia or Senatine, Semja Duada Travel, Sembe Tandana show, Sembe Samlo Shukshin by Yodu, the Nekar Samgursenet, and Oda, Semja Tamje Tawada Demba, Nichi, Semja Dumadi, and his Segi, Chisa Semja Tamje Dumad and his Sesh, Semja Hori Dumale, Draje, Sangi Salang, Gugi in Sembega Samlodi, that do skin Hassam Gil Edge, Chisa draw Julio cool care was it. Chisa draw Semja Hori Gangadi, his Segi, Gangadi, Digi de Demba, Nichi, Semja Tamje Digi, Koi Dungal, Draje, Miss Sangi Salia, Gugi, Koi Dungal, Draje, and Sangi Sala, Gugi in Sibeda to Genlin. Cool care was it, me Genlin to chickens if it was in some cool care was it, Dilla, Hassan Namdasi for it.
So these two meditations, one engages in, or these two thoughts, one engages in repeatedly again and again and again, developing an ever more powerful yearning within oneself. May all beings abide in happiness. May this being, may that being, may all beings abide in happiness. May each and every being gain their freedom from suffering and never have to suffer ever again. Developing this ever more strongly within oneself. Then, when this arises in a way that is sustained and powerful, the meditator comes to the point where they recognize that all they have done is develop a deep love and compassion. But this love and compassion within them is insufficient. They want to fulfill this wish. They want to make this the reality. They don't merely want others to be happy and want others to be free of suffering. The meditator now develops a determination. I will make this the reality for each mother sentient being. I take the responsibility for their welfare, for their happiness, for their suffering. I take this as my personal responsibility. I take it as my responsibility to guide beings, to develop the causes that will lead to lasting happiness, and to develop the causes that will lead them to gain freedom from suffering. I take this as my personal responsibility. And this attitude is called either the wholehearted resolve or special intention, or the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, where one, as the meditator, takes it as one's personal responsibility to ensure, to guide others to gain their freedom and abide in lasting happiness.
Denige samlodi dang de samba da jamba da nije hasam namda se de samba dile pan chewa ge chewa ji mewa de samit be ji da de karsan da semjen tamji ga nge se yi semjen tamji gi di nge du yin la de semjen se di dang az mi da la da ane dunro da nyawa da ida chasang gi da ga de nge se yi konzu digi nge du gi se de samna tangro da samna dile hawa ge chewa ji mewa dang 저게 소소딩아서 삼나래야 소소 지부게 강아세야 돼 강아요로 봐다 아니디 소소 지부서 소소 분야다 파마다 세지 부우데 강아세야 돼 자산 지 거기 투유투 삼다 투야 갈래 하고 이나는 나저 기합 자산기 미리 강에시 디잉에 주게선 삼다 배 갈래 하고로 와 제가 디나시 다 되네 딜레라다 다땡아 저기 심전 탐지에 나요도 냐와 바간에 수여배나 dunro ida den motonga 통화줄 마규바 되네게 심전 차상기 강하디기 녜시기 달하다 미다 차상기 강한 녜신 konjugi digidi nge dubins samdayda samlodi pe mas ingdo gyachemo shiwochi chade simjen gya samlodi pe gyachemo chirese da dile ningdu chewaji da samlo gyachewaji meware chizan denege samlodi ngazu duchen samlo dangi de 장도를 쉬고 장고를 해서 오다.
So minds such as this, again, the common English translations of wholehearted resolve, special intention, or the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, it is an incredible mind. It is a mind of strength that we probably have never experienced. It really is quite remarkable. Because if we think of our own current situation, we already find our own problems difficult to bear. But probably we will take on the sufferings if we could for our children, and perhaps also for our broader family. But it's difficult to really imagine going beyond that, certainly not even for our entire city or nation. But here, this is a practitioner who has gone beyond merely wanting, but has made a determination. They made a determination that each and every sentient being, so across all the realms, in life forms that are still unimaginable to us, and every type of suffering that they can experience, so innumerable sufferings also of types that are unimaginable to us. I take responsibility to guide each being to gain freedom from all forms of suffering, wherever that being is, whatever corner of our world or realm it may find itself. That being has been my mother, and I will help them. I take responsibility for their happiness. So to give rise to such a determination takes extensive training. It takes repeated effort over a sustained period. But when the wholehearted resolve arises, it is a mind of incomparable strength and determination. It has incredible power within.
Sada dine samdang dine samlo di ki tugu rebe sa samlo shik ngazu tihoshla dine samlo chimbo di gashin bu ngazu ki tugu rebe tugu maresne kale khabur tugu maresa chi yung tingiro ine ki tugu res gorda karasne ngazu gyula zawi gi samlo chise de zo zawa de yede bare bin ngazu simje 탐je le dewa 중에 야고를 선배 삼는 가지고 여러 봐. 심지어 탐지 동화의 맨 동화지 마주는 배 야고를 선배 삼는 가지고 여러 봐다. 이내 대자위의 삼는 가지고 뉴버를 마선에 충주도 여러데 디 yar게 조투고 마다 디 yar게 당한도 딜라 yar게 따야라 야네 야도 야네의 삼단 디삼로데 야네 야네의 땅이 yar게 주고 그래. 제산당 한주기 지단에 잘라지나 가른데 제모르시나 디제모디 빠지 연대 통제 야네야도 삼다 남사디 제행을 중고로 어디나시 아주결 자위기 아주 셈제담제 대화의 대하나 삼바 셈제의 동화의 자와 자나 셈베 삼디어데 아주 야네야도 마공바자 야신의 쟁기토 전투고 오면 니버 침부 차고 말에 디삼메차 바자 땅 아주게 도전 셈제 대화의 대하나 셈베 삼로디 야네야도 땅요도 아주결 samlo dewa dina sembe samlo du yana ya to nyuba chersia joya da denigi semje dunga da dana sembe samlo du nyuba chersia benanga zile mika ga ngi robo ji yin se samlo joro wa da da dine za da shengi robo je de shengi dunga se la anju ge samlo yo ba za gal ga za ma ji ji so si punja de nye de so so bu de so so jobo de gang se da an ji ge konzole digi robo ji tu go wa 지난 데니게 자위에 삼로 여바다 땡아주 두시네 박 삼로 땅이 되시네 야야 샤샤 다지 야네 야도 다이도 거 뉴베 샤샤 줘요 데네자다 지네자 심진 대화도 되나 삼바 심진 동안은 자와 쇼스미 니제다 심진 함제 코유 동안의 죄지 디기 딩해 주바 지기 코도 강하데 녜시 코도 디기는 녜 두긴 셈베 삼바데 두쇼 공공지데 야예 신제 다ኛ주길이 데네게 게 투예게 지 뒤실리고 얼마다
If you think about what this determination involves, when you're saying the welfare of this being and that being is my responsibility, and we're stating this to an uncountable number of beings, unimaginable types of beings across the realms, it's really quite an attitude. So to have a doubt whether this is actually possible for me, to have such a doubt really makes some sense. But the truth is, we all can develop this incredibly powerful mind. And this is based on the fact that each and every one of you will honestly be able to express the wish, may each and every being be free of suffering. May they abide in lasting happiness. All of you have this wish. But to develop it to the level that is required, that is entirely possible too. It just requires habituation and reasoning, and it will become strong enough. Because perhaps amongst, well, all of you have various skills and talents. Some of you may have developed really some outstanding skills or skills at an outstanding level. How did that come about? It wasn't that you weren't born with it, but you developed it with extensive training. And especially those people who have developed a skill or a talent to a world-class level, it takes extensive training, but it is possible. And so too for us. We all have the wish to help others. Certainly we'll help our children, we'll help our family, we'll help our friends, but we'll also help a stranger in need. And this shows we have the seeds for this. We just need to nurture them, develop this wish further, develop this wish. May this being, may that being, may every being gain their freedom from suffering and abide in lasting happiness. So for each of us, it is entirely possible.
Sometimes, Simja Tam Je Kuru Dungalang, Trugi, Simja Tamshil, Digging, Drugi, Sembigi, that's some logic do, and then that in the key that I get some never some done water. Didn't he Simja Tamshil, Diggy to hear the Dunga say, Marala, never do him into something. At that thing, I was in Nuba Marvada, Simja Tamshil, that Simja them Diggy together. Dunga say the candidates say orders in the tablam di, that consolia. Kala dan dulo tebe nesne semje dunga se tuya de digi tu tuya je me wada da garase ne dangandu dinashi anzu kasang yin de shuwa na shin chin anzu lia samlu thone gywa da je jesa kasang anzu ge di samdang ure dinganzu ki sheba na shin di na shin chi semje tamje lia labje je konzu lia churim sonju jinbe nyamlen jeju swebe nyamlen ju zunju nyamlen samden 다음에 봐도 비셔라 냠는 두스 냠는 제주 냠는 제주 콘솔이야 두스 랍 콘솔 냠는 두스 제주 되는 냠는 제요도 너 콘솔이 냠는 제요도 되는 콘솔 고유 동안을 타다 줘도 거래 제사다 고유 동안을 타다 줘야게 탑람디 콘솔이야 냠는 게 짐바데 마노와다 마투와 차사 ጤ니 냠솔 렘발에 ጤ네 다 콘솔이야 냠솔 렘 고유 동안을 줘 탑람디에 샤하세네 탑람디 통고를 받아
Whilst we have the capacity to develop this determination, it's undeveloped, so it needs to train. We need to train in it. And also, whilst we have the wish to help others, our capacity to help them is very limited. So we can help beings through financial assistance, or for giving material things such as food, financial assistance via charity, and so forth. We can help in these ways, and it's excellent to do so. But the help that beings really need, whether they recognize it or not, is they need help in terms of being guided to develop the causes that will lead to their liberation from suffering. That's the help beings really need. What they need is to be guided in how to cultivate a generous outlook, how to be ethical, patient, to cultivate joyous perseverance, to delight in virtue, concentration and wisdom. This is what each and every being requires, because those are the causes that will lead to them gaining their freedom from suffering and abiding in lasting happiness. So what beings need most from us is to be guided, to cultivate the complete and unmistaken paths within, the paths that lead to liberation and enlightenment.
On those geneda fendo rugo gores, did you de la sosorana la nuba do you mean cheba ching some that or that in a social letter, the nuba minuada, never in the tatang had the nuba minu, that denike chasan didn't when the Sulu do labna, that sangi says shas, Kaja sangi said the Gun Hamjedam Jawa, you net Hamjed the Demba inza, that denigi ma duelia, ma chetelia. Ganga Gunicati Karina didn't to a Chicago, Mano, Martuba didn't to when the sun years says. Then come down. That Chingba in Jigo Maricot, and the Minigi Colia, then a Tata Chagde Chagme come down about the Timbachi Dingo. Does not come down over Timber Timbalo, could come down over Carical, how go or water. Says that the how go the day come down over Chidawich in the king did a sun years. Says that the Duke is ill dingo, but I let you tell it in a Pandome, do you didn't tell it Pandoya, but Dudia, then you Dudia came by the how. Data sun years. That's Jezada, Che Diegi, Dienang Kare, Dimbaina, Din Tukendi Sangiri. Simjin come down, which Dawa should do King and Sangiri. Do you simply do initially then a call of Pando years at Ding and Sangiri? Jedada, Mili, Mida, Ladang, Dundroda, Chazalia, didn't dig it number 20 part, into Sangiri. Jezada, Sangiri, how about me, the Simjan Tamjo Koyu Dungal, Digi, Tamjo Druidida, Sangirisha, Tablam Yashu, the Sangirisha. The Nizang Simjan Tamjikidun, Sangi over the Matun, Tabminu, says the Nigi Janju Simki or Jeza, Delia, Tamadil, Janju, Simjo, Jumper, Jinju Lopsid, Jeza, Janju Nidine, Zada, Simjan Tamjo Koyu Dungal, Digi, Tugu, me Jehu, the Dienzada, me Karjos and Dini Dukan, Tap Chodu Cuba, the Sangi Resha. The Enzang the Sanjokoba Matun, the Tabmin, Chizang Sanjokoba, Tobershu, Sembig, Semli Kiawares, Dinigi, Sanjokoba, Tobershu, Sembe, Samlo di, Simjan Tamjo Kuru Dungan, Taji, Simjan Tangila, Pando Duyaga, Dondala, Dingi Simjat and Sanjokoba, Tobershu, Sembe, Samlo di, let Janju Simsigores, Chizan Dinigi Semli Kiawares, Janju Simjo Jumper, Singular said.
The practitioner has, whilst it has been read, you would have seen that Geshe has been describing the fourth line in our verse. So the practitioner has developed this determination, this taking responsibility for the welfare of others. But when they look at themselves honestly, they recognize very clearly that right now they lack the capacity to be able to do so. Why? Because what sentient beings really need from me is to be guided in how to develop the complete and unmistaken paths to enlightenment within them. How can I guide them in that when I have yet to do so myself? How can I guide others based on partial knowledge and very limited experience? I will not be much of a guide. Moreover, whilst I've developed the genuine, determined attitude to help all sentient beings, when I think of what that means, these unimaginable life forms across the realms, and how that this will take an inconceivable span of time, and that they all have their own various personalities and karmic backgrounds, how can I give them the right guidance that is suitable for who they are? That really is beyond me. But it's not impossible, because there are beings who can do that. And these are Buddhas. Because it's Buddhas and Buddhas alone who have developed the complete and unmistaken paths within them to the point of perfection. Thereby, their mind is completely free of any trace of fault. Their wisdom and compassion can shine through unimpeded, and they can guide beings in accordance with their particular karmic background, their particular personality, help them in the most appropriate way. So Buddhas can do this. Buddhas are the perfect guides because they have perfected themselves and they understand beings deeply, intimately, and can thereby guide them perfectly in a way that no other being can. So therefore, where I've come in my meditation practice is not only wanting all beings to abide in happiness and be freed of suffering. I've taken the responsibility to ensure that I bring this about. But to fulfill this responsibility, I now need to go one step further. I myself have to become that most skilled of guides. I have to become a Buddha. Because when I am a Buddha, I can help every being perfectly. Until then, I can help, but my help will be limited. So I have to become a Buddha so that I can guide others to their own liberation and enlightenment. So here the practitioner generates bodhicitta. Bodhicitta in English, the mind of enlightenment, where one is determined to, one, become a Buddha, and secondly, so that one can lead all beings to a state freed of suffering. And that is in the Tibetan, the fourth line. For us, it's within the third line. Please inspire me to master supreme bodhicitta.
Simjan Tamcheda, Rana Shin Dewa Duba Dungome to Chigare, Same Samdaje, the Simjanaje, Dewa the Timber Shoe, Sipe Samlasta, Dene Simjanaje Dunga the Draw Shoe, Sipe Samda, Dene, and the Dicelia, Simjanaje Dewa the Temba the Nichiki, Simjatamje, Dunga the Drawa the Nichiki, Jesa Simjantamje Dunga, Draja, Koi Dunga de Draja, Condolia Lamden. Lam den Yamlin Jeju, Simjan Tamje, the Koi Dunga Drawing Ichi, Sambigi, some the new Kurke and the Jig, Lasam Tiki. Dicelia, Dini is other, Simja Tamji, Sanya Simjan to call drag, Tablo Miato, Chok to you, but the San Yoko Marisha, the Enzang Simja Tamji, the San Yoko, Topershow, Sebe some the time did that, some Sanju Semje, on those in Digom Goreche. 나 디곰 진행하게 심지어 탐지 되니기 곰비기다 심지어 탐지 산요고바 토버쇼 세베 삼로디 소수기라 쥐마 마인 버지 기용도다 쥐마 마인 버지 기디네다 몬도 규리가지 나서 쥐마 마인 버지 기용도 안네 직장주 셈 규례 개발해서 올때 전주 셈 바세 차고래지래.
So this meditation has 4 steps. So the preliminaries have been done, and now one lifts one's reflection, so it would be the second line in our verse, recognizing that there is no difference between myself and others. All the differences that I perceive or imagine, I think about, these are superficial at best. At a fundamental level, we are all the same. We all want to be happy, we all want to be free of suffering. So this is the first step, this recognition that all sentient beings and I, at a fundamental level, are no different. The second step is to meditate again and again, developing the wish. Firstly, may all beings abide in lasting happiness. That's love. And may all beings gain their freedom from suffering. Compassion. You develop these thoughts again and again. May all beings be happy. May they be free of suffering. May they never suffer again. So this is the second step, love and compassion. Then the third. When the second step is developed in a powerful, stable manner, merely having this aspiration will not fulfill you. You'll feel insufficient. I have to make this a reality. It's not enough that I want my kind mother sentient beings to abide in lasting happiness and gain freedom from suffering. They need help to get there. They need guidance. I take this as responsibility. This is my personal responsibility. I willingly accept this responsibility. So that's the fourth line in our text. It's the third step of the meditation, the mind of wholehearted resolve. Once this has been developed, it's a far shorter step to the fourth step in the meditation, which is to make this determination to fulfill my responsibility. I need to become the most skilled of guides. I must become a Buddha, because it's only a Buddha who is a perfected being and thereby can teach the complete path in an unmistaken manner in accordance with the various karmic backgrounds and personalities of each being. I have to become a Buddha. That's the fourth step of the meditation in our third line. And then when this mind of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, has been developed so many times that it arrives spontaneously, it's uncontrived or unmanufactured, it doesn't need to be created in meditation. It arises spontaneously and abides. It's at that point that one is a bodhisattva. It's at that point that one actually has bodhicitta.
나 디네기 삼로디도 장장심 개월에서 제사대 디 응아주의 냠는 지나 제 투구리 했어야 돼. 다 가상 개인 쉬어야 돼. denju lutin sayade jezada nganju ge denju lutin ten telya nganju samlo da namje peji da shu jue ba za ten te denju lutin di ten la samlo dinish da nyamne jinen je tuure tuye ge lutin dige nyubo yores dine sam da ya ge sam da tuye nyubo yor namje yore jeza dine za tuure sayade jeza denju denchen sikisi nga da bo denju denchen sayade nganju lutin di denju lutin re jeza di donda chenbu tu tuye chire donda chenpo zhu tuwa karsanida dinigi simcha dungwa da dewa da tenpa da dungwa da jawa sho sama simni dungwa da jawa da ngi chigi sibe Tene semja tamji san yokuba towar show sibe samlo di tu stand na nganzu tin de la samlo ta tu ri jeza samlo ta nam jue de shu jue de ba za tu su su gongbo ne mo ya ne no gongbo de zhe tu ri sa ji o du sin de kesin de xue de da ji ba cha wo ji sa de xue dun xie xia de kesin de dun xie.
And if amongst you're wondering, is it really possible that I can join the ranks of the Bodhisattvas? Is it not surely beyond someone like me? The truth of the matter is it's not the case. Everyone here can do so in this life. How can I say so with such confidence? Because we all have a precious human rebirth, which means we have the capacity. Developing this capacity that we have is what is meant by living a life of great meaning or living a life of great purpose, cultivating the mind of enlightenment, the mind of bodhicitta within. This is living a life of great meaning. This is the great purpose of our life. And how to do so? It's not overly complicated. One hears these teachings again and again, keep on hearing them, and keep on meditating on them. And over time, these talents and skills and qualities within us grow and strengthen. And eventually, we too will arise as bodhisattvas. And it's Buddhas who are the actual beings who have the greatest capacity to help others because their mind is perfected. They are able to help others precisely to cultivate the various qualities within and progress towards attaining Buddhahood as well, to joining the ranks of other Buddhas. So there may be some doubt about that. Perhaps.
Consul Chue, Consul Yamnaji Buddha, the Dundro Yarida, Dundro, Patume, San Yu Consul Chue, Consul Chue, Yamnaji, the Nan, Taratamji Kimbo, Ya Taradunga Taya Yoribes. Then the San Ye can share, Buddha, Yamnaji, or Comja Yoribes, and Jura Tanaka just said.
Because I really have the doubt how a Buddha can help all these classes of beings. For example, if you walk around here, you've always got to be careful not to stand on the ants. There are a lot of ants here. How does a Buddha help ants? We've just heard you need to hear these teachings again and again, meditate on them, cultivate them within. So is this what ants are supposed to be doing? Are the Buddhas appearing to ants, teaching them the Dharma and how to meditate? How do Buddhas help ants, for example, as well as all the other classes of animals as well as unseen beings? Perhaps now we finally know what the ants do during winter. When they are in their colonies underground, we don't see them. Maybe they're in deep meditation. So unfortunately, this is not the case. The truth of the situation, when a being is in a predicament such as these, such as ants, but so many others in the lower realms, they, in that rebirth, lack the capacity to be guided in the Dharma. Not even a Buddha can help them in that life form, because they lack the capacity in that life form to develop the required good qualities.
当然，这米里啊，却送年们解决的月的啊，这米里月的。那dun着日开些里啊，却送节，他可能去年们就国家的用过的dun着，其他嘛的dun着日恰上了也写出来面的，其实dun着日开些的一大拉说把的dun着日开些里啊，那上去却送，那可能去年退些年们节的用过，其实他的米的那个dun着日开些里用过的。
Amongst the 6 realms of beings, it's humans that have the greatest capacity to engage in the Dharma. If we think of the other high realm beings, the gods, there are some who certainly have the capacity to engage in the Dharma, but not all. And then amongst the unseen beings, amongst animals, the vast majority do not have the capacity, but some do. So there are some types that do. And then amongst spirits, again, the vast majority do not, but some do. And amongst hell beings, none there can.
就是那上一个现有段在的开始我说呢，别的那个去年嘛，都跟dun着日里的上一个按照米那的dun着那的去了对吧？没的，那个年嘛都跟日里啊，按上一个可能是那么的那这个那么对接，就不对，按可能是咧。给我就是杀去也过不来过来，就是他本来步骤嘛，就甚至个水啊之类的，那个那这个步骤没那么的对接，甚至水个送给这，他们这都是呢，或者给我就是杀去，但呢的都是呢，工作里给我杀去，但呢干什么去了？给为的呢，点这个我都个方都去特别给他们这，但那个我都个方特别的，但呢我都个方他的米个方，所以你睇了呀，他全我说点的，个好我说点，但个我说接住，你去。我说现在你们解决的都是呢，也说的，上一个他可以动下来，这还得点的做过的。
So for those who have an interest in the Dharma and the capacity for the Dharma, it's clear how the Buddhas help them. But for those who say are human but lack interest in the Dharma, or are non-human and lack capacity in the Dharma, the Buddhas cannot teach them Dharma. But they will still help them. And the way they will help them is the most important way that they can be helped, to help them in the most important way that they can be helped, which is the Buddhas will appear in forms that these beings can relate to, and the Buddhas will guide them to accumulate virtue and to avoid accumulating non-virtue. And in that way, the Buddhas in a guise or a form that such beings can relate to well, will guide them to accumulate the causes to achieve a rebirth in the higher realms, where they can finally gain access to the Dharma.
我就个方头头跟得了呀，确实年们解决做我的大地的，确送也的出来嘛送，等看这个年推什么解决，等那工就等那等下子开始学吧那些，等那都现在什么人吧都是什么大他的工就年们解决，等那呀他把这讲学生拉米了呀，过年对上那个那讲学生别拉米了呀，过等那嘛。that gesture sab kal song she na chen dine ya san yi sal ko du sku go re che san yi.
This is a process that for each individual being takes an immense amount of time, many rebirths, but eventually they gain a rebirth such as this, a precious human rebirth. Then, again, to the extent that that being has created causes, the Buddhas will appear in a form to teach them the Dharma, to guide them then to accumulate the causes of the Dharma and to purify their continuum so that they can progress towards generating an actual path in their continuum, a path of either the hearers and solitary realizers that leads to individual liberation, or the paths of the bodhisattva that leads to full and complete Buddhahood. So when these beings eventually are guided to attain a precious human rebirth, it's then finally that the Buddhas can teach them the Dharma.
다데 심지어 탐지기도 상요 고파 토어 쇼스메 삼다 다데 삼바들 시리 미라와로시 개체sun 숨이여 봐자 당보 때에 다데 니바다 당 숨바디게 개체 뭐 삼도 고 마투겐디게야 당보들 때에 디리다 원요 고파 토에 삼다다디 탈비오 고파 삼도 제라다 마투게 니버시라 메딩 갑라 되는 원요 고파 나서 탈 원요 고파 토어 사다 미고파 토어 지구도 sembe 삼다 디장주 되니 짐바 수련서 냠는 지주 다도 냠는 지도 고 야게 친이 되니 디수 야고차 야게 친여도 다고 뉴벌 마소나 코위 동안 타달로 줘야 타바 토부도 sembe기 삼다의 뉴버디 레어도 되네 가르송 것은 다 결혼 딜레 야게 삼 다디파 야게 다디 지고래 그래서 코위 동안 타달로 줘 타바 토부도 sembe 삼다 냠는 지고래 해서지 도시 송고래 다 되네기 근데 냠는데 야고 차는데 다고 뉴벌 마소나 갈가슴 차버와다 차는데 다 오다 결혼 지부 삼다겨 말에 결혼하신 심지어 탐지 대화 되바도 등원비도 배치버와 먼저 찾아 찍버와 결혼할 대화 고도 심지어 사실 대화 고고래 결혼 동화 고고면 심지어 휘 동화 고고면 찍버래 되네기 인자다 결혼 삼다디 결혼 지부서 타바 토고도 심에 삼는 마땅하지 다디 삼는 딜레 캐셔다 심지어 탐지 코의 동안을 줘고 심지어 탐지 디기데 대고도 심에 삼는다 심지어 탐지 코의 동안을 줘와데 내 지긴 심에 삼는다 되네 심지어 탐지도 상주고 봐 디 동안 다 주위에서 심지어 탐지 상주고 토벌쇼 심에 자주 심게 디냠는 제쇼하세도 말씀거다
From how I've just described how bodhisattvas and how Buddhas help beings, can also hopefully be also clearer why the graduated stages of the path leading to enlightenment are presented in three parts. The trainings that are shared with the practitioner of initial capacity, the trainings that are shared with the practitioner of intermediate capacity, and the trainings that are unique to a practitioner of supreme capacity. Because different beings have different karmic imprints that they have accumulated over successive lifetimes, and therefore, in accordance with their capacity, they can be, or express it, they can only be guided in accordance with their capacity. So many beings, they are very caught up just in this life. And if the Buddhas can skillfully guide them to accumulate causes for a further excellent rebirth, that is a big success. If the Buddhas were immediately to talk to them about cyclic existence and gaining liberation or Buddhahood, this would be something that would not appeal to them. They wouldn't be drawn towards, because they have yet to accumulate causes of sufficient strength to respond well to such teachings. But over a period, which may well be over lifetimes, the Buddhas will guide the beings through this progressive or sequential series of trainings, slowly cultivating the causes, so that when a lifetime comes and they hear about the causes to attain further excellent rebirths, they immediately embrace this. And then they hear about the teachings about how cyclic existence is pervaded by suffering and liberation is possible. And they immediately embrace that. Why? Because in lives previous, the Buddhas have guided them to accumulate the causes that now in this life ripen, and those teachings touch them, inspire them. And so too, when they hear teachings on the bodhisattva path, immediately their hearts open, a yearning arises. And now the Buddhas can encourage them to let this be the life where they arise as a bodhisattva. So this is the process that Buddhas guide beings in. It's a process that happens over an immense period of time. And it's not a straight line, but Buddhas need to be skillful in guiding beings in various ways in accordance with what kind of rebirth they're in, what kind of imprints they have on their continuum, and eventually get to the point where the bodhisattva path can be presented, and the being, their heart opens with inspiration, and a determination arises.
삼르다 군노아 자주셈 게 군노아게 데네골로게 다심제 탐주 상유고바 토벌 제발라 상유고바 토발라 다 냠는 가르치고래 세지어로 바다 가르 냠는 제고래 세디 다 냠는 제디 대시 슈바 지바래 다 진배 냠네 수제냐네 수배 냠네 준주 냠네 삼대 동방이 두배 샤랍 디주티레 냠네 제디레 꿀로 자주심 요군에라 다 냠네 제디 대시 꿀로 타바토비기 군에라제 냠네 제 디주티레 다 자주심 요군에라제 냠네 제다 디주티레.
So to return then to the presentation here. So when the practitioner, they develop love and compassion, they develop it further and they develop wholehearted resolve and they develop that further into bodhicitta, where they now have the determination, I will become a Buddha so that I can help all beings gain their own freedom. Then how do they train? How do they train their mind? What are the practices of this bodhisattva so as to actually become a Buddha? Because the aspiration is insufficient. One has to train the mind. Again, as I mention these, you'll hear the link to the previous steps in this training, in the preliminary practices that led us to this point. So what are the causes? So now the bodhisattva has generated new causes in their continuum, or new practices in their continuum, love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So this is new. But under the influence or motivation of bodhicitta, they will engage in generosity, ethical restraint, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. Those same practices that we've heard thus far, one continues to engage in. The bodhisattva continues to train in them. What's different now is each of those trainings are conjoined with bodhicitta.
onda nyamlin jetade da chenje simyo kunela nyamlin jetade sungor denma dine semzam ge yang surim namsumla gomba menda chanshu myudo ba lebar thone gese dombala zomba tabe lobra chinyi lobs.
This then brings us to the 8th verse. But if I only develop this resolve, yet lack proficiency in the 3 types of ethics, enlightenment will not be accomplished. Having recognized this clearly, please inspire me to train with focused diligence in the vows of bodhisattvas.
Zada semzam ge yang surim namsumla gomba menda chanshu myudo bara sayade. Chizada semje namje dewa demba sho sebe jambo kom de semje dunga da dawa ninje kom semje dunga da dawa na digi demba ta ngi jigin sebe hasan go de semje namje sanjo ko ba tobar sho sebe semje ba geba zamgi da sanjo ko ba totu guresen de totu mare sere 지자 셈잠 계양 계바증 산요고바 투투고 말에 자주 투투고 말에 지나다 가르고스네 수림남 숨다 제주셈비 수림당 아니 라소바 진바도 쇠바 준제 삼대 시라라소 냠냠 곰 마곰버 아니 자주 투투고 말에 지나다 셈점 계야 셈 자주 셈 계바증 산요고바 토바쇼 삼바증 산요고바 투투고 말에 지나데 디가라 뭐 수림냠네 제고래 네 진바도 수르셔바 준에 삼대 냠네게 제와 디마루바 냠네 마제바 셈게바 셈이 산요고바 투투고 말에 장슈 투투고 말에 사디 산요고바 투투고 말에 저 셈셈게양 수르넘소라 공바메나 제주 미투버세데 지기데 어디.
So looking at the first 2 lines, starting with, but if I only develop this resolve. So what is meant by this resolve? It means the resolve that has come through meditating for a long time on love and compassion. May all beings abide in happiness. May they attain their freedom from suffering. And I've developed that further into the wholehearted resolve, where one takes responsibility to bring this about. And taking that further and generating actual bodhicitta, where one arises as a bodhisattva with the determination, I will become a Buddha, so that I can lead all beings to attain their freedom from suffering. So this resolve refers to bodhicitta itself. But bodhicitta alone cannot lead to enlightenment. Bodhicitta alone cannot lead to enlightenment. Further causes need to be cultivated. Those 6 practices need to be engaged in, conjoined with, or motivated by bodhicitta. This then is the meaning, as the line continues. But if I only develop this resolve, yet lack proficiency in the 3 types of ethics, enlightenment will not be accomplished.
지나다 가서 조슈 또데 내가 칼라사긴 삼바 삼기 조도바디 상요 이 자기 말에 지사 칼라 마사바 조도바데 네 자기 말에서 차이들어 지사데 칼라 마사바제 칼라 사고 선배 삼마당와 잠기 칼라 마사나 조도바디 강한 세투 말에서 디나시 심지어 탐지도 상요고바 토벌쇼 삼바 잠기 안에 상요고바 톱투고 말지사디 수림라서 왜냐면 마제바 상요고바 톱투고 말에서 지송을 지나다 전주 심주 군내라제 군내라제 냠내제도 수림소야 대시셔바디 지바레데 이나 수림다 디술야데 야체슝이 켜버려요다 야체슝 전주 심주 군내라제 수림소야 될 수림디게 야체고 하래 진배 냠내데 야체와다 저바도 주르슴 바 야체바 녀마지나 지나다 미니 완성의 동아를 죄제 코리아 동아 탈바 톱이 선바다 사비게 아따 수림소야 돼 전주 심배 갑을 수림소야 돼 때 중국어래 딜에 많이 다들 먼저 거봐 토얘기 수림소야 되게 야충화차고래.
So this can be understood through, for example, if you're hungry, you may really want to eat, but you're sitting there, your hunger is not going to be satiated. You need to get up, cook some food and eat. The causes have to be accumulated in order to experience the desired result. So too here, no matter how powerful the bodhicitta is within the new bodhisattva, that alone will not lead to the attainment of Buddhahood. They need to practice in ethics and so forth. So they need to practice. So here we have the three types of ethics. Again, we'll come to that. But when we see ethics, we can also understand it implies the other practices of the bodhisattva. These all need to be engaged in. And just to make a further point, when bodhicitta has arisen within a practitioner, whilst they may be engaging in, for example, ethical restraint, generosity, and so forth, these practices, which they have long practiced, first when they're doing the trainings in accordance with the practitioner of initial capacity and then later intermediate capacity, all these practices, or all three levels, are called ethics. But as the mind develops, that experience of ethical restraint, the experience of generosity, of patience, is vastly different because the mind itself is vastly different. So when the vast mind of bodhicitta, with its far-sighted outlook, has been developed, the experience of generosity and ethics, the practicing of it, is vastly different than in either of the previous levels of training. So the practice has the same name, but the way it's performed and experienced is incomparably different.
지산 수림 넘버 숨나이를 대라 수림 넘버 숨나 예제 되면 수림 안에 개화취되게 수림 샘제되게 수림세 수림 넘버 숨시 용거래. 지사다 아주 그진셰디 딱 만송을 가서 만송을 탈이 개화치면 원료 고마 토고도 원하고 더 수림 숨그래서 해야지 예제 되면 수림래. 류가 유스면 예제 자원이 지금에서 삼당과 되시 마도 샘제되네다 개화치 수림이 시고 말이에요 말. 디레 예제 되면 수림 잠송고를 데레 다데 데라 전주 심비 냠는 지리깔라 디 예제 되면 류가 수는 예제에서 돈바 마세 안에 갈라와서 샘제되지 수림 안에 개화치 수림디게다 야차다 도시네 도 야시다 수림 넘버 숨디 냠는 지고래서 송고래.
This expression, or this term, the three types of ethics. So what this refers to is the practice of ethics of a bodhisattva has three divisions. Of those three, the one we have already heard about, and we've heard about it in accordance with the trainings of practitioners of initial and intermediate capacity, and that's the ethics of refraining from misdeeds. So where one restrains one's body, speech, and mind from non-virtue. So that is one of the three types of ethics, and that is consistent, is carried throughout all three levels of training. The two additional types of ethics for the bodhisattva is ethically practicing virtuous qualities and ethically striving to benefit sentient beings.
진바 데라야 아주 사생의 진바 취기 진바 미직비 진바 송고로와 지사다 기생 아주 자대 사생의 진바 좀 송고로와 다데네 차바 준비 취년을 지대 취기 진바 상승의 진바 미직비 진바 세디 진바디게나 야샤를 두시네 아니 지게 두시네 류신 다야다 샤사 두시네 송오래
This is also the case with, for example, generosity. So the Bodhisattva practices generosity as the Bodhisattva did before she became a Bodhisattva and was a regular practitioner. And the type of generosity we've heard about is the generosity of giving material goods. And that's usually what people understand by generosity. But the Bodhisattva also engages in two other forms of generosity, that of giving fearlessness and that of giving the Dharma.
제가 누우치는 대서 냠내 맞아봐지 산이고 뭐 투투고 말해 제가 대서 냠내 지고 그래서 얘네 인자다 레버로 통해 나 간에 지고 그랬으네 레버로 통해 게세 돈 발라 전부 잡으로 버 진이로서 레버로 통해서 돼 제가 레버로 통해서 장주 셈게세 되네기 냠내 맞아봐 다 산이고 뭐 투투고 매바다 하고 되네 냠내 지고 봐도 하고네 레버 하고 용도서 레버 통해 되네기 하고 당보도신 삼다다 하고네 하고네 가르치고서는 되네 장주심비게 계제 장주심비게 dombason 장주심비 dombason제 되네 안 장주심비 죄바 파로도 심어 죽라 라고 그래서 대한 배주 장주심 dombason제 되네 장주심비 죄바 파로도 심어 죽라 라고 그래서 전바 잡아 되네 배주에 제제 배주셔야 되는데 배주 첨부지나 냠는 제 그래서
Lekpatongne Badu.
Geshe Thubten Rabten 레버를 통해서 니네 냠는 지역고 통제 다 냠는 맞아봐 상주고 톡톡고 민들네 냠는 지역고도 sempre 통제하고지 되네 안 하고네 가르쳐 그러려는다 냠는 제대 가르치는 가르쳐서는 전주심비 줘봐 전주심비게 한지가 아까 줘봐 라고 그래 지산 Geshe Thubten Rabten 전주심비 dombason 전주심비 줘봐 바로도 침부 줄라 아니 배주에 전에 전부 잡으러 버리 진기로 전부 배주에 냠는 지역고래 해서지
Returning to the verse. So having recognized this clearly, so what this refers to is the understanding that now having generated bodhicitta, I can't just sit here, I have to engage in the practices of the bodhisattva. And I need to do so in a broad and expansive manner so as to benefit beings in a variety of situations. So this is what has been recognized clearly. Then it continues, please inspire me to train with focused diligence in the vows of the bodhisattva. So the vows of the bodhisattva, when one has recognized this clearly, then the new bodhisattva will take the vows of the bodhisattva and then strive to fulfill the vows of the bodhisattva, which in brief is engaging in these six perfections, in generosity, ethics, and so forth. The bodhisattva then, having recognized this clearly, will seek out and receive the vows of the bodhisattva and strive then to fulfill them through engaging in these six perfections.
제가 되네기 냠내 제도 당보 다 대신 샘제 탐산 요고 토벌쇼 집에 전주 샘계제 되네 다 산요고 토비 치동이 전주 샘배 죄바 파로도 심어 줄 랍긴 삼제 랍긴세 켈렌제 담자제 되네가 삼다데 두시네 다 삼다데 당아주 진비에 삼다데래 제가 진비에 삼다데다 소수기 류 롱죄 계속다 지바 탐제야 시엔샘제래 당이 샘비에 삼다데다 동샘지 빼와서 동샘 장와 누신 삼다데세 류 롱죄 계속 탐제 샘제 남들 당이 세디 디다디 다디 만족의 사생이 진바로 최고래 사생이 진바 아디 삼다디 다디 사생 제자다 미심전 탐제 최소를 교구인 선배 삼다디 미지비진바래 미지비진바 심전 소를 교구인 선배게 삼다디 미지비진바 제자다 도시네 미지비진바 세대 최고래 제자다 사생 취기진바 세도다 네 나랑게 냠는 집에 람 냠는 리바딩에 코스를 샨다들 하선 남다신 희긴 세비 코스 랍기딩 세비 삼다디 취기 진바다 삼도 제산디 장주 셈베 갑로다 진비 냠네 지디 디시고다 소수기 류로제 계속 가리나 샹심진 디기 주에 동아서 땅이 셈 삼로 두스네 삼다야 직제 디네 삼다 이베디 다 셈잔 탐제 강아 가르치 채소 소리야기 디네 강아서 채소들이 히 교기 셈베 다 건조 채소를 교기 셈베 삼다이다 두시네 삼다 다 디니기 삼다이 디시 지자도 소소를 교 투다마도다 내서 연구로 이나 소수기 탑 강라가 토네 아직 면제시네 로봇 지오가다 가르쳐야 되지 연구로 와대 지자디 삼다이 다데네 소수기 신별 냠람 냠링 림바데 시해야 띵기 니티 hen치 콘솔 냠네 제주 니 콘솔 랍기 셈베 삼로 랑게 신비 시연디 콘솔 마싱 바저 강아 유현슬이 니 콘솔 랍기 셈베게 삼다데다 최기 진바스 최 냠랭이 좀 진바스 요걸 세상 콘솔의 개와 제주 콘솔 진배 냠랭 제주 닐랍죠 콘솔 이미 진배 냠랭 제 수리 냠랭 제도 수배 냠랭 아랑의 냠랭 제바 가신 바디 콘솔 발랍죠 콘솔의 냠랭 제주에서 배 삼다디다 최기 진바삼다 두시는 삼다야네 야도 두시는 삼다도 아주 삼로디 두시는 곰시 티기 누가 슈셔죠 제가 진배 전주선도 소람이 내가 소되네 아주 되네기 진배 냠랭 제바셔야 돼 두신 제고래서 송거다 진배 냠랭 시다 소람바이다 지나다 소람이 내가 소 지구로 와다 제가 다 간질에 전주선이 군내라지 전주선비 진배 냠랭 제다도 되는 두 삼당 고래서
So having recognized this clearly, now the Bodhisattva will engage in the training of the 6 perfections, and they'll do so with focused diligence. So let's look at the first training, that of generosity. So generosity was mentioned as having three types. So the first is the generosity of giving material goods. So here the Bodhisattva in meditation will imagine giving their body to help sentient beings, giving all their resources to help sentient beings, the virtue or merit that they are accumulating, dedicating it so that it ripens for the benefit of sentient beings. And in this way, they're practicing material generosity. Then with fearlessness, the second type of generosity, that of fearlessness, there the Bodhisattva will, in meditation, imagine helping beings in grave danger. So beings whose life is threatened and is therefore experiencing great danger, that what each being values most is their life. The Bodhisattva helping them, saving them, rescuing them. And then the third meditation will be the Bodhisattva meditating on giving of the Dharma, helping beings in the most important of ways, teaching them the Dharma. Imagine teaching them, for example, how to accumulate merit through this practice of generosity, how to refrain from harming themselves and others through restraining themselves ethically. So this then is what the new Bodhisattva on the path of accumulation will be meditating on, these 3 different types of generosity. So these will be meditated on repeatedly so that they grow in determination within, as well as through meditation, their skill in how to do so will grow. And when they're not in meditation, when an opportunity presents itself where they can be of service, because of the strength of mind they've cultivated in meditation, they will embrace. They'll embrace this opportunity. They'll help those in need, whether it's through giving materially, or through helping them in a time of grave danger, or through helping them through teaching the Dharma. When that opportunity presents itself, the Bodhisattva, through developing this powerful resolve, this focused diligence, will embrace the opportunity and will skillfully help beings.
안도스네 제오레에서 중고로 디네 자다 가젤에 샘자 탐지 상요고방 토벌쇼 집에 삼로다 전주 샘기네 단님네 제디 진배 님네 제야 수리 샘자 탐지기도 상요고방 토벌쇼 디치 등이 전주 샘배 주 파로 침발 납기 세비기 남자시 클린제 디네 안주 디네 지나는 전주 샘배 진배 삼는 다야다 다 주심 송야 삼는 다야 도시네 삼는디기 도스당고 그래서 디 송고로다 들으나
Just again, the sequence is the practitioner develops deep love and compassion for all beings, wanting them to abide in happiness, free of suffering, due to recognizing that we all at a fundamental level are the same. and developing this to the point where they take responsibility for the welfare of others. They don't leave it to others to sort out, to help those in need. They say it is my personal responsibility. But then to fulfill that responsibility, I have to become a Buddha so that I can have the skill to do so. And they generate bodhicitta, meditating on bodhicitta again and again until it's uncontrived or spontaneous. Then, knowing that merely wanting to become a Buddha is insufficient, they have to take the vows of the bodhisattva and engage in the practices of the bodhisattva. And hence they do so, taking vows and engaging in the 6 perfections.
Dewada Demba, Dekoza, some Dungada Madawala, Dewada Demba Meveza, Chisada, Dunga Medio by Dunga, Najuga, Simjet, Dunga, Jawishu, Simbi. That number Simjet, Dewada Demba show some. Dinesim Dunga, Jawishu, Simbi, Dine, some da. No do send them done. Then one to get that. So Sugi, do you in the papiki? The nigger some died it is done. So Sugi, do you the papiki? Do you Mawa in a Lele in a Maha some da? Do you Tunu Madamena, Nua some da? Denegi, du sur le papier, dine samda. Denegi samda dine, da semje tamje dewa de temba da ngeji, semje dunga da jawa da ngeji, semje tamje lia dewi lam, dewa tubi lam, due nyamlen jeju de, semje tamje koyu dunga la joji, nge sanje sala kuigi, sibi ngeji, sebi ge denegi, da nyingdo rike, dine kurdo kere, nyingdo rike. Dine da sanje Simjan Hajili, Dine Pando Jabala, Tangala Nuba Mino, De Nuba, that Chodu Cuba, the Sanji Resha, the Zangi, Simjan, the Pando Rubia, Dondalang, Sanji, Kopa, the Matum, the Tabmino, Simjan Hamji to the Sanjo Kopa, Tobashu, Sambigi, Nesamda, Dushin, the Samda. The Nesan Simjan Hamji Sayo Kopa, Tobashu, Sebesamdane, the Nesanjo Kopa, Tobi Childo, Dangi, that you know, Jake, so that Jabatam Jeshalia, Dangi, Genia, Pando Rubia, Dangi, Sempe Samdaya. And Lunga usum yukone shala never said that's our in the chime, Sembe Sambataya. Da hem Shanage Kanga never the Dinike and Edelia, Anchik Pa, and the Conro Lanche, Pa, Nubilan, Zaug in the chime, Sembe Samtaya. That Dinike Yamlan Chede, Shale, Panto de Giotri, Bemas, Yapore, and Mudishi Chigia, Sembegi, go up dinner, Yapora, Payabui, Sebedinigi, Mudichi, Sembe Samtan, the Zundrishe, that is in Juana, Chiva Zundrus Namne. This thing on to that, Nanzu some time down 2 years that the Chunju down when they take down 2 years to Chadua. Then thing is, she knew to say that Nanzule may advise that to Scarlet Howard, Dineda, more but that thing is in Tuyada, the Dame Piki, Yamle Chickens, some died, Yeshim Chagua. Something like Surgeon that she shank knew about children apart Nubil and Jigmes, Honlang may never Jigmes and some died. The young Jews some down 2 years, did down 2 years. They did out 2 years to do Yane and the Yan and the town by that, the Moyagi to Warwa.
This is how a actual bodhisattva will proceed. So then, how should we, as aspirants for the bodhisattva paths, how should we approach this? So my advice to you, and take this advice, and the advice for everyone is the same, although your circumstances in terms of how much free time you have, that differs, but the advice is the same for everyone. So those with less free time, we'll do this meditation in just a few minutes. Those with more time will be able to do this meditation in more minutes. So that part is for each of you to determine, but the meditation is the same. So first, meditate on the various sufferings of samsara as was presented earlier. And when a recognition of suffering arises, recognize that causal stream that leads to suffering and hurts me also is what befalls everyone else. Their behavior is similar. They follow their minds of attachment and anger, and they create causes of suffering. They follow their desires for the various pleasures of samsara, as do I, and cause suffering. So you first look in relation to yourself, recognize the unpleasant aspects of samsara, and as you do so, you recognize, but it's not just me who's making these mistakes, who's following my afflictions, so too are my mother sentient beings. In the same way that I don't want to repeat this habituation, that I want to be free of this habitual tendency of following my mind of attachment, of getting upset, of being jealous. In the same way that I want to be free of this, may others be free of this too. In the same way that I want to abide in lasting happiness, may all others abide in lasting happiness. Whoever they are, whatever expression they are taking in this life, may they be free of suffering and abide in lasting happiness. So this then is combining several steps of the meditation, where you are meditating on suffering, but it's being conjoined with love and compassion. Then you can develop this further in the way presented for the Bodhisattva. Merely wishing myself and others to be free of suffering is insufficient. Merely wishing that I and others abide in lasting happiness is insufficient. I must make this happen. I must make this my life work. I will ensure that myself and all others gain freedom from suffering. So here it generates the wholehearted resolve. But to actually fulfill this determination, I have to become a Buddha, because it's only a Buddha that can lead all beings to this state. So I have to become a Buddha so that not only do I gain freedom from suffering, but I can help all others to achieve this state as well. So then one generates bodhicitta. And then one can meditate on these 6 practices, but I encourage to do it in this way. First, reflect on generosity. Generosity, the wish to give of ourselves. And you imagine helping others in any way you can. And here, make it realistic. Look at your day ahead. Where will you have opportunities to help? You can express in terms of material generosity, express in terms of being a good friend to someone, helping them in their various work activities, whatever it may be. May I help beings this way strengthen my connection with them. And through the strengthening of connection, may I help them in the most meaningful of ways. Later, when I become an actual bodhisattva, may I teach them the Dharma. So here we're practicing generosity in our meditation, imagining ways that we can help others. And if we can think of, well, maybe today I'll come across some insects in desperate need of helping, I will do so. And helping them in this small way, may through this cause I help them later when they are humans, teach them the Dharma. So in this way, one meditates on generosity. And then one meditates on ethics in a similar way. I will not harm others. They matter to me. Therefore, I will restrain my physical behavior to ensure I don't bring any harm to others. I'll restrain my speech because I don't want to cause suffering to others. And I'll take care of my mind because non-virtuous speech and physical behavior follows from the mind. I'll do my best to ensure the afflictions do not overwhelm me. And moreover, when I do encounter hardships today, adverse circumstances, I will practice patience. I will do my best not to get upset with others or with circumstances. Others matter to me. I do not want to get upset with them. Moreover, I won't get upset about various circumstances because then my mind is afflicted and I am suffering. I will take care of my mind in all circumstances. So here once meditated briefly on generosity, ethics, and patience. Then intentionally rejoice. Rejoice in having met the Dhamma. Rejoice in having not only heard these teachings, but taking them to heart and cultivating them in your own mind. Rejoice in this, because this strengthens your determination to continue to do so. And then in terms of the last 2 trainings, that of concentration and wisdom, make the clear aspiration, may I come to develop concentration and wisdom in this life. develop that aspiration. So in this way, I encourage all of you to do this meditation.
어두 신의 디 삼노된 것도 신의 삼노다 야네 양도도 신의 소수기도 샤네 나도 샤바네 다 자야딩 한주의 자야디 장투여 바다 장투야 여바다 되니 자야디 류신 되니 자바이나 단디 디기 되네 삼노다 디기다 원대 고마토에 유야 디기 세고래 나손을 깨와디 디와 까고래 아니 코유가 코알레 탈제 코유둥아 타달레 탈비게 예 빵비기뇨 지금 어방비 고된 탈바지야 디니 규세고래 아니 코이 둥아 타달레 좋아래 탑람에 디지고래 디지고래 디네 샘자 탐지기도 산여고모 토비 유야 디세고래 지사 디네 자다디 삼노다나디 아주게 딜레 파연 채와지다 수남 채와지 매래 디네 수면 따와있나 당아중 녜마사비 디바디게 디보코로 지게 가상은 좀 임보 도시군에 샤고래서 순회로 디나지 임보 도시군에 마샤바나 그 디바디야 디네 다루 그랬어. 디네게 냠는 제바디 녜마사비 디바디야 다루 그래. 다들 디바 사르도 사이그 말. 제자다 먼저 거 봐도 유야 사고래 고유 동아 타달로 주베 탈비기 거 봐도야 디 사이고래 쓰고 심지어 탐지도 산조 거 봐도 유디야 디게 사고래. 디네 유주고래. 제자 두신의 삼다이딩아도 계치 모시고 그래서 다가도 냠는 삼다이디 대두신 다음에는 살지다 니다 두신 등이되는 야 아니 곰질 마선 cherche 어두신 두고 그래서 디네 삼다이 계치 모래서 다가도 다 디네 쉬어야 되는 시.
This meditation I've just presented, everyone here can perform this meditation. It's within everyone's capacity. And if you do so repeatedly over a sustained period, you will notice a transformation within you. Because at first, everything's intentional, you're making it happen. But as the habituation becomes ever deeper, this will become who you are. You'll become ever more naturally loving, naturally compassionate. You'll become ever more naturally generous, ethical, patient. And this comes about through doing this meditation repeatedly over a sustained period. And also, you will go deeper, because as you get more familiar with this meditation, you will naturally go, examine the topics at deeper levels. So this meditation needs to be done repeatedly over a sustained period, and then transformation will come. And if you do the meditation in the way that I've just described now, whilst it is being done in the context of an aspirant for the paths of the Bodhisattva, even if you do not become a Bodhisattva in this life, you will be creating the causes for excellent rebirths. This comes as a byproduct. Also, you are strengthening your connection with the Dharma and thereby creating causes that will lead to liberation and enlightenment. So the two prior trainings, those results come as a byproduct if you do the meditation in the way that's described here. And then one additional thing to add. Yesterday, I spoke about the need to refrain from further non-virtue and to purify past non-virtues through the four opponent powers. So to this meditation, if you sometimes or regularly add the four opponent powers, it will also serve to purify past misdeeds. And by engaging in this meditation with steps such as developing, valuing, a cherishing of others, as well as ethics, one will, and patience, one will naturally refrain from accumulating further misdeeds. So one will bring a stop to accumulating new non-virtue, and by adding the four opponent powers, will also purify past non-virtues. So then thank you. We can conclude there for this afternoon. Thank you.